meditation chapter. So, do you mean solar noon or noon according to the clock? I asked. I mean noon, said Daji with a laugh. For me, meditation is so much better before sunrise, I said. This is why I encourage people to test these timings for themselves, he said. Meditate before sunrise, meditate at noon. Is there a difference? Now, compare that to the effect of meditating at a completely different time. You have to find what's best for you. ಅದರ ಅನ್ಲೈನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ರಿ. You have to find what is best for you. Do not be too rigid with any of these. Again, please underline this. Lot of people are very rigid on these aspects. For instance, how will you meditate at dawn if you live above the Arctic Circle, where night lasts for 6 months and the day lasts for 6 months, another 6 months, or even in parts of Scandinavia where the sun rises so early and sets very late? The most important thing is regularity. To meditate one of these recommended times is ideal, but it is of secondary importance compared to our regularity in practice. Please mark this. Most important is the regularity of the practice. So the timings can vary according to the place where you live, according to your own life circumstances. So somebody who is actually going to night shift, they might have a different time where they can actually meditate. Somebody who is having a different shifts. In government job, there are three shifts: morning shift, evening, afternoon shift, and the night shift. So depending on your life circumstance, you can actually change the timing of meditation. Okay, so we don't need to be too rigid in these matters. And it is just as important to have a fixed place. So one is having a fixed time, but there again, it is the regularity of the practice that's more important. Now he's talking about the fixed place. For meditation, as is it to have fixed time. For instance, when you enter the kitchen, you think about food. Even if you're not hungry, you are tempted to grab a snack. So many people, I think, are used to it. ಅಲ್ವಾ ಸುಮ್ಮನೆ ಅಡುಗೆ ಮನೆ ಹೋಗೋದು ಏನೋ ಬಾಯಿ ಹಾಕೊಂಡು ಬರೋದು. ಏನು ಸಿಗಲಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂದರೆ ಟೇಕ್ ಅ ಪೀಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಜಾಗರಿ, put it in your mouth and come. Something you'll put, right, when you go into the kitchen. Every one of you are well versed in that and well experienced in that. ಅಲ್ವಾ? So even if you are not hungry, you are tempted to grab a snack. So what happens if you dedicate one room for meditation? By the time you sit in your meditation spot, you are almost meditating already. If on the other hand you meditate at a different place every day, you will spend time trying to get comfortable. So underline that. You spend time trying to get comfortable. That's one of the things that actually slows down your meditation journey when you keep sitting at different places. So the newness of your environment will distract you, even in subtle ways. As a result, you won't be able to meditate as deeply as you might otherwise. So there is a variation in the quality of meditation. Further, our thoughts, emotions, and activities leave traces in the atmosphere. When entering any place, we resonate with what we feel there. For instance, if you visit a hospital, you will immediately notice certain effects. You will feel some lingering sadness. You will feel heaviness around you. There is worry floating in the air. So you should feel bad for us now. The last three sentences. That is what we are used to or getting exposed to every day. So there is heaviness, there is sadness, and there is that worry floating in the air. No wonder anybody who comes to a psychiatrist is always worried about ABCD, something or the other, right? So he just gives an example of hospital because Daji is used to working in hospitals. He is a pharmacist, no? So that's why he gives this example. And also it's a very big contrast though, compared to outside environment. Suppose you go to a cricket ground, you feel a totally different thing, right? You go to a cinema hall, you feel it a different thing altogether. You go to a park, you feel different thing. So each place has its own kind of thoughts and emotions and activities. Many years ago, I wanted to, but this is something that you have to keep in mind. Each place has the thoughts and emotions and that activities leave traces in the atmosphere. So that is important. So when sometimes when people uh, a close one dies, their lingering thoughts and emotions are actually still felt in the place where they used to live, and it takes time for the nature to work on it and clear it off. It takes time. So that's the reason why many of the times they don't use the clothes of the past, the one who's passed away. Many of the daily used clothes and other things they actually dispose it off because you don't want that the lingering thought and the emotions to kind of come back. Okay, so many years ago I wanted to open a new pharmacy in New York City. One of my employees scouted a great location. It was right next to the hospital. That's generally a good spot for a pharmacy. The owner was willing to sell it to and for a low price. I was almost ready to buy it right unseen, buy it sight unseen. But I went to see it, and as soon as I entered, I felt that something was wrong. At some point of during the time, I went to use the restroom. Yes. The moment I entered the room, I felt such a disturbance in the atmosphere. There was a certain helplessness, an immense sadness. I felt this, there was a spirit hovering in that area and just turned around and left. But even as I walked out, I was actually haunted by what I can only be described as a cry for help. Later, I asked my employee to find out what had happened there. It turned out that recently there has been a scene of a murder. The effects of the thoughts and see the cry for help and that disturbance in the atmosphere of helplessness and immense sadness, they're all the traces that is left behind by the person who was killed there. So when you are sensitive, you will pick up some of these things. Okay. You might not pick up anything, something very specific as that is written, but you will pick up something is not right. That definitely will pick up. The effects of the thoughts and actions linger in a place. By meditating again and again in one place, we create a special atmosphere there, a meditative atmosphere. Peace and sanctity pervade such an atmosphere. It is light, subtle, and pure. In fact, it becomes a holy place. At the same time, all places are holy. Every atmosphere is divine until we corrupt it with our thoughts and actions and emotions. That is why we should avoid performing other activities in the place where we meditate. So please underline this. Please avoid performing other activities in the place where you meditate. So keep it exclusively for meditation. If you don't have a room to spare, keep one corner of the room for meditation and don't do any other activity in that corner. Okay. Not everyone can reserve an entire room in their house for meditation, I said. You can even dedicate one corner for the purpose, he replied. Like cats always nap in the same spot. In the same way that there are ideal times for meditation, we also have ideal places, I asked. Choose circumstances that do not interfere with your practice, he said. For instance, if you want an environment that is filled with distraction, you don't want an environment that is filled with distractions. When your environment is chaotic, your consciousness reflects that disorder. Inner disturbance tend to intensify in the presence of outer chaos. When you sit in a cluttered or dirty room, it affects you. If clothes are scattered everywhere, if books are lying open and dirty dishes are stacked up in the sink, how well can you meditate? A spare, open atmosphere environment is best. So please underline. A spare, open environment is best. That's why our sages in the past used to meditate in the open, outside. They never used to meditate inside the kutir. Their meditation was always outside the kutir. And even the kutir that they used to have so much ventilation. There's lot of sunlight, lot of air, lot of space. So that is exactly what you require, an open environment. That's what Daj is writing, a spare open environment. Ideally, your meditation space should only have a chair or a mat where you sit. Our external circumstances should be conducive for meditation, bearing in mind that meditation is an inner activity. There should not be anything in our environment to draw us outwards, you see. But as we progress, we can also develop the ability to be unaffected by our surroundings. For example, in the beginning, we tend to become angry if something disturbs our meditation. With the time, external distractions only drive us deeper into ourselves. This we read during the Pratyahara and Dharana, we read about it. That any external distractions now actually aid our journey inside. So rather than a hindrance, it becomes an aid for our journey inside. And of course, time and place are not the only two variables that can affect our meditation. So he is now talking about what are the factors that affect our meditation, what are the variables that affect our quality of meditation. And when I say quality of meditation, in turn, the pace of our spiritual journey. Both are related. You cannot have a good pace of spiritual journey without the quality of the meditation being impacted. Okay. On a daily basis, we expose ourselves to so many influences. These influences affect our mood. Why do I feel low today? It could be some interactions between your circumstances, your encounters, a dream you had, or something you ate, a state of health. After a chaotic day, you cannot help but be affected. If you come home and meditate at that time, your meditation may not be as easy as you would be meditating first thing in the morning. For example, in the early morning, nothing has had a chance to affect you as yet. You are a blank slate. Please underline that. In the early morning, nothing has impacted you as yet. You are like a blank slate. So it becomes very easy to meditate. So when you meditate later and later in the day, there are a lot of other variables that come into play. So that can also affect the quality of the meditation. Okay. So I hope people test all these things for themselves. Meditate before eating, meditate after eating. Do you find a difference? Meditate before bathing, meditate after bathing. Is there a difference? People have spoken and written much about these topics. Some say that we should meditate only after bathing. Well, what about meditating after splashing just a little bit of water on your face? Is that sufficient? So try these things and see for yourself. You will come to the correct conclusions. Now, if you go on experimenting with everything, it's going to take a lot of time, right? That's why some things are given to you on a platter, saying that this is what it is, you just do, follow accordingly. In some ways, just following some instructions actually saves time. Although you can argue that you are actually deprived of your experiential learning. But then there are a lot of other inner experiential learning that you need. So why worry about this external experiential learning, right? So somebody who can start meditation at say 15, 16 or 18, they can experiment all these things. But at 15, 16 and 18, there are a lot of other circumstances, lot of other variables anyway at play. Hello. So the recent people who know about these variables are our Bharat and Gopal Krishna. We can hear from them. What are the variables? I think we are now a bit further away from that, from those variables. Huh? They are too shy to talk about the variables. But variables will be there. Again, age is a variable. Our life circumstance is a variable. Our health is a variable. Mental health and physical health is a variable. Our spiritual health is a variable. The fact the other family members are also into meditation or are not, that is also a variable. The routine that we have and the routine of the others, do they sync? That is another variable, right? For example, Sudha sister has to now follow this routine. There is other routine that is pulling her back, but she now has to come here. That's another variable. You can have lot of variables that can actually impact our journey. Okay, but we have to learn to manage everything to the best of our ability. That is what spirituality teaches you. Spirituality does not actually make you crib about the variables. It makes you learn to handle these variables in the best possible way. That is what spirituality should give you. If somebody is only cribbing about the variables, then they are still not yet grounded strongly in spirituality. Once you are grounded strongly, every circumstance, every variable that you face, you actually utilize it for your advantage. So if there is noise outside, you utilize it for going in deeper. Can you see that? So that's exactly what happens. So now Gopal Krishna turned off the video. So I don't know which variable is impacted with. See, all these variables impact us immediately. We don't even know. So we have to check once he's back, what was the variable? You can answer if you want.
I was calling a friend of mine who is going to come with me for sitting.
You see, variables. There are so many variables. This is on the spot created variable.
I just
Right? See, now another variable. Our mind is creating variables all the time. This is an example of that. This is not nature created. This is our mind created. Okay. But anyway, but remember, there's a trade-off. You can learn by experience about all these things, but you lose a bit of time. But obviously, you need to kind of balance between these two factors, the time factor and the learning by experience factor. But some of these things are mundane experiences. You will realize eventually. So you will realize that it's all right. It's like a child being made to sit and use a reading or a writing table when they are young. Okay, but as they grow older, they don't need the writing table to read or write. They can just sit and read or write wherever they want, right? Whether in the school or in home or any corner of the house or even outside, it doesn't matter. But initially, it feels as if that is necessary. There are a lot of children who actually pester their parents to buy this writing table. But many people just grow out of it. Then they'll see that it was such a mundane thought to actually even insist on that. They outgrow it. So many of these things that we are now reading, we actually outgrow it. Eventually, when your meditation is you become very adept in meditation, you can basically sit and meditate wherever you want, whenever you want. So that is the kind of thing that you actually grow into. But at the start of the journey, many of these factors, variables, are important to be handled in the right way. Okay. So it's like you are learning a cricket, say suppose batting. You need to learn how to hold the bat properly, no? You need to learn how to stand properly. The stance. You need to know which guard to take. All these things are important. But then after that, if you see the IPL, everyone is standing everywhere and everyone is sitting wherever they want. I'm pretty much sure that our Bharat is watching the IPL. What happened to the match yesterday? I don't know.
RCB won match.
Who won?
RCB.
Okay. I think there was some chance of rain, no? I read that it's going to be called off or something like that. Luckily, I think it didn't rain.
Yes.
So RCB1. Okay. So after a long time, RCB are giving you some hope, right? I think that's the effect of all the hope programs that we have learned in all the ashrams across Karnataka. We, we have given some hope to RCB also. Now they are reciprocating. Okay. Okay. Let's continue. Now the third factor. So the time and the place. Now the third one, meditative posture. Before I encountered my heartfulness meditation, I experimented with a few other meditation methods. Whatever their differences may have been, they all shared one commonality. Each attached great importance to posture. In those early days of my meditative journey, I had the impression that profound meditation would only come once I had mastered the meditative posture. As a result, I devoted a lot of time and attention to my posture. We also have tried. We used to try this Padmasana, and you know it will feel so painful at the end of it. Forget about doing meditation. You will always be focused on the pain that you are having at the ankles when you sit for Padmasana, even now. So now Babu just made it so easy. Aram se sit comfortably on a chair and do whatever you want. Right? But earlier, people had to master the posture and they used to go to any lengths. So people used to try to master Vajrasana, people used to master Padmasana. All are pretty painful actually. So Daji also has tried the same thing that I devoted a lot of energy and attention to my posture. I also look forward to the day that the pose would become second nature and I would never have to think about it again. Now, earlier I have made you underline second nature. Now underline second nature here again. Now you might ask yourself a question. How many second natures are you supposed to develop? Which of these should become primary nature? So this is something for you people to ponder about. Before any one of my early meditation sittings from a heartless trainer, I asked which pose I should adopt. She looked at me and said, "Be comfortable." I was a bit surprised. A short time later, I met some of the local meditation practitioners at the Heartfulness Center. There, I was surprised again. Among the people, I found no strict adherence to any one particular pose. Many people sat cross legged, others sat in chairs, and nobody looked rigid. Everyone sat in a way that was natural to them. Since then, I have rarely heard heartfulness meditation even speak about the subject of posture. So I decided to bring it up with Daji. What is the ideal meditative pose? I asked. We have to look at posture in the context of meditation's larger purpose, he said. So posture should be in tune with the meditation's larger purpose. Underline that. What do we do in meditation? We go within. We move towards the core of our being. In deep meditation, we come into contact with our source. Dissolving in it, mingling in it, and merging in it, we become one with it. This union represents the true state of yoga. To underline those three lines. In deep meditation, we come in contact with the source, we dissolve in it, we mingle in it, and we merge in it. This union represents the true state of yoga. It's a return to the source from which we originated. Thus, yoga represents the principle of dissolution. Underline that. Yoga represents the principle of dissolution. It is a return to the moment before our creation, when everything was converged into singularity. Now, singularity is again something that is there in the cosmic science also. If you read the Big Bang and cosmology, you hear the word singularity. Scientists also use the same word. Before creation, what was there? Singularity was there. From there, the creation has occurred. That's what they talk about. So, the same word. In that singularity, there was no activity. That is why the state of yoga is a state of perfect calm and inner stillness. Please underline that. What was there before creation? There was perfect calmness and perfect stillness. Now, here, Daji is talking about inner stillness. Now, before creation, where is inner or outer? There is no inner, there is no outer. So, what was there before creation? Perfect stillness. There is no question of inner stillness. It was perfect stillness. That's all. Only after the creation has taken place, then you can talk about inner outer. Before that, there was no inner out. Everything was one only. Right? In life, we also find another opposing moment. It is that which pulls us outwards away from your core. This outward movement represents the principle of creation, which is an active principle. Okay? When you feel like roaming around, when you feel like going for window shopping, when you feel like going for dancing clubs, when you feel like going for various other coffee cutte or what do you say, uh, cafe coffee day, all these things are nothing but the principle of creation at work. Your mind is externally pulled. Whenever your mind is externally pulled, you grasp it that it is now the creative principle in you that is at work. It happens every day. You don't relate these two. Every day, your mind says, go here, do this, go here, do that. Right? So, what is the mind saying? The mind is actually utilizing the creative principle. The creative principle is now manifesting and making you go on do and take your attention outwards. Okay? If there is no creative principle, everyone will be sitting and meditating. Nobody will be doing anything. Everyone will be just sitting. There will be no activity in the world. It is this creative principle that makes you take your mind outwards. See now, Gopal Krishna has activated the creative principle. He has put a message, have to leave home now to come for sitting. So that is a creative principle. See how immediately it manifests. I think, okay, that we'll catch up then. So we must understand that the moment of creation is also the moment of separation. Now, this is a very important principle. Please underline this. The moment of creation is also the moment of separation. It is the moment that we become separated from our source. For instance, what happens when a mother gives birth to her baby? It's a creative act. It's also a moment of separation. The baby gets separated from the mother. Previously, the mother and baby were one. When the mother ate, the baby also ate. Their existence were intertwined. After the baby's birth, they became two distinct entities. One became two. Similarly, the creation of the soul is the moment that it becomes separate from its source. For the first time, unity is lost. Now you need to work out, was there a principle of unity before? After the unity is lost, we say unity is lost. But was there a principle of unity before? Was the soul aware that it was in union with the divine source or the source? Was it aware? It was not aware. Once the separation occurred, then it realized that the unity which was there now has been lost. In a way, it is a retrospective awareness. Likewise, the baby, when it is delivered, it does not know that it is being delivered outside the mother's womb on the first day. It is still kind of sleeping like it used to sleep in the mother's womb. So the baby has no idea of separation. Retrospectively, it works out. It was separated from the mother and so on, such and such a date, and that is called as the date of birth. And we celebrate it. Look at the fallacy. We are separated out and we celebrate it as birthday. Can you see the contradiction here? Are we supposed to celebrate the birthday is the question. If the day of birth is the day of separation, are we supposed to celebrate the birthday? What are we supposed to do? Should we feel happy or sad about the birthday? Because that is also the day of separation. And now we are trying to get over that day of separation, the feeling of separation. That's what we are trying to get over in meditation. So over a period of time, one of the things that you will see is that you are not so much interested in your birthday. Okay? Because why do you want to be reminded of the day of separation? You tell me that. Now, other people might be more interested in celebrating your birthday, but you yourself will be least bothered. That is what happens. Now, the question comes, why would other people also want you to celebrate your birthday? Because they are not yet gone back to the source. They want to remind you that you are also separate from the source like us. So, this is a question to ponder about. At what stage the birthday loses its significance? The importance that we attach. Children want to celebrate their birthday in grand way. They want to call all their friends, hold a party, cake cutting, that, this and all. You remember that? Many of the children do that now. They insist that their parents should call their friends and have a cake cutting, balloon popping, so many things they insist. But at that age, it is innocence. After you come into meditation, once you have realized the blunder, why do you want to celebrate your birthday? You tell me that. No, if you want to celebrate, you can go ahead and celebrate. I'm not saying do it, don't do it. Don't feel dejected. Arey, why I was born here? Don't become despondent. That is not necessary. But I'm just thinking, telling that the relative importance of the birthday and the way that we look at the birthday will change as we go deeper into meditation. Because the day of the birth is also the day of the separation. Okay? So just look at somebody. If somebody is very, very eager to celebrate their birthday, what does it mean in a sense? ಏನ್ರಿ ಭರತ್ ನಗ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀರ ಹೇಳ್ರಿ ಯಾರಿಗಾದ್ರೂ ಹುಟ್ಟದಬ್ಬ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬೇಕು ಅಂತ somebody is very eager to celebrate their birthday, what does it mean?
Enjoying separate.
They're still engrossed or entangled uh, in this physical body in such a way that they are not even aware of the idea of separation that is there behind it. That spiritual awareness is not there. Okay, so in other words, as you progress spiritually, even that birthday celebrations also will be looked at differently. Okay, so who knows? Bharat was eating 2 sweets for his birthday. Now from next year he'll have only 1 sweet. So all these things are possible. So that's why we say meditation has an impact on every aspect of life. Just as simple as celebrating a birthday, it has an impact on that also. It has an impact on the outlook of that also. Okay. So similarly, the creation of a soul is the moment that it becomes separate from its source. For the first time, unity is lost. For the first time, we experience incompleteness. We experience dissatisfaction. Certain theologies call this the fall. Can you see? The birthday is called as the fall. Then people will literally translate it and say, I fell out from the mother's womb. That's what they'll say. It's a fall. Anyway, I fell out. But when they use the word fall, what they mean is that you are now engrossed with a sense of incompleteness and dissatisfaction. It also gives you another thing. If you are meditating properly, then what is supposed to happen? You should actually experience a sense of completion and satisfaction in life. Because now, from the idea of separation, you are moving towards unity. So if the idea of separation gave you dissatisfaction and incompleteness, then your movement towards the unity should give you satisfaction and completeness. In other words, every session of meditation should actually make you feel complete and satisfied. That means the meditation is happening in a quite a natural way and you are progressing towards the unity. With meditation, we re-enter the state of unity and stillness. We regain our originality with our universality, and that's what we do. Many people believe that we can only return to the source after death. Then there is a voice of logic which tells us that the only way we can return to the source would be to go back in time. Neither is true. Through meditation, we achieve that grand union here and now while still alive. Please underline that. Through meditation, we achieve grand union with the source here and now while being alive. To master yoga is to transcend the limitations of death and limitations of time. In the state of yoga, we simultaneously express the principles of creation and dissolution. We are beyond duality. We are simultaneously active and inactive, time bound and eternal. We are both at the same time. We are beyond duality. We are simultaneously active and inactive. We are time bound and eternal. This comes with deep meditation. You may wonder what posture has to do with any of this, but the state of deep meditation begins with posture. Our meditative pose can help us turn inwards and move us towards our center, or it can get in the way. So the posture is something that should help us in turning inwards and moving to the center, towards our center. That should be the meditative posture. That is the answer. What kind of posture we need in meditation? A posture that will help us turn inwards and move towards our center. That's the fundamental criteria for the posture. We have already discussed several of the 8 steps of Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. The last 4 steps, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi, illustrate our plunge into deep meditation. From Pratyahara, which is to turn inwards, we proceed towards Dharana and Dhyana, where we rest in the heart. Finally, we enter Samadhi when we start to meditate into the source or dissolve in the source. So that is as far as the posture is concerned. He continues now about asana. Patanjali's third step is asana. Remember, across this book, the 8 steps of Patanjali is described in various places. So you need to be aware. We read about, while we were reading about Pranahuti, we read about the Niyama and the Pranayama. Now we are reading about the asana. Before that, we read about Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi. So all of them are covered. Then Yama will come later on. So all the 8 aspects of Ashtanga Yoga is covered in the book, but in different places, not in the same sequence. So just remember that. You can get questions about the 8 Ashtanga Yoga, 8 limbs and its various definitions, its various purpose, its various effects. All these things you can get as a question in the examination. Patanjali's third step is asana, which means posture. In order to choose the best asana, we should consider which pose which lead us to Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi. The first thing we do in meditation is to turn inwards, ourselves inwards. That is Pratyahara, first step. Turn yourself inwards. That's also called as sense withdrawal or self withdrawal. Our physicality can help us here. If our eyes are wide open, if our bodies are sprawled out, and if our legs are stretched in front of us, it's not going to help us to go within. Such poses lend themselves to a more external orientation. To achieve Pratyahara, our physicality has to adopt a contracted posture. Please underline that. To achieve Pratyahara, our physicality has to achieve a contracted form. Yeah. Since meditation is nothing but a sequence that comes after Pratyahara, the same pose actually helps you in meditation also, a contracted form. This is of course a matter for personal experience. So try both ways. Meditate with your arms and legs stretched and meditate with it folded, then see the difference for yourself. I've already experimented with this, I said. What did you find? He asked. It's just as you said. It was harder for me to really go inside when my limbs were stretched out. That is why the traditional posture for meditation is a seated pose with folded legs. So that is the traditional pose, seated pose with folded legs. The position of the hands is also important. Ideally, they should be clasped together with the fingers interlocked. Or you can rest one hand on the top of the other and we meditate with closed eyes. So you sit in a comfortable posture, you fold your legs, you bring the arms together, one above the other, or you interlock the fingers and then close your eyes. Now, this is the posture of meditation. In some methods, people meditate with open eyes, I said. The ancient literature describes the senses as the gates through which the awareness flows. When you use the word awareness, the consciousness flows. That's also fine. The senses are the gates through which the awareness or the consciousness flows, said Daji. Sight is the most prominent sense. We tend to focus upon whatever we see. So closing the gate of sight helps us reorient our awareness inward, which is pratyahara. The most important is closing the eyes. Because of the five senses, the eyes are the most powerful. When the eyes are closed, then you are less impacted by the circumstances outside. Okay, why? Because the eyes are the most powerful of the five senses. If somebody says anything, you want to see that first, right? Seeing is believing, we say in English. So everything we want to see first. So eyes are the most powerful of the five senses. So that's the reason why we close the eyes. Then you might say ears are also next powerful. Second is ears. Unfortunately, you cannot close the ears like this. And some of the people try putting cotton into the ears initially with meditation. But then you will see that it's much easier. Once you close the eyes, it's much easier to withdraw from the other four senses. It happens naturally. Okay. We tend to focus upon whatever we see. So closing the gate of the sight helps us reorient our awareness inwards, which is pratyahara. From asana and pratyahara, we then proceed through the rest of the steps, the dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. In samadhi, we enter into a state of union with the source. From the source, we draw a subtle current of energy. By sitting with folded limbs, we form a kind of circuit. So when the legs are crossed, when the hands are crossed, or it is interlocked, the fingers are interlocked, you are forming a circuit. So whatever energy we draw from the source, it now circulates within this circuit. This circuit allows that current to flow throughout our system. It passes from limb to limb, cycling around again. If our limbs are not in contact with one another, then the circuit is broken and the current escapes and goes to waste. So if the source is infinite, what does it matter if a little energy goes to waste? I asked. You know, said Daji, I had once a personal discussion with Chariji, the third guru of the Heartfulness tradition. He said, Kamlesh, make as much money as you want, as you like. Go ahead, but spend it wisely. So please underline that. You can make as much money as you want in this life, but you have to learn to spend it wisely. Most of the people are not taught how to spend it wisely. Everyone is taught how to make more money, but most of the people are at a loss what to do with the money that you get. This second aspect, nobody actually teaches you. Charlie's statement contained a hidden question. You see, if you spend money wisely, then why would you require so much of it? Why would you need so much of it? When you truly value a resource, you make the best. You make the very best out of it. You conserve it. In meditation, what we receive is the very highest. It's the divine essence. So I think we would not want it to go to waste. The truest form of gratitude is to make good use of what you receive. So please underline. What is the truest form of gratitude? To make the best use of what you receive. That is the gratitude in practice. To make the best use of what we receive is the truest form of gratitude. When people are asked this question in examination, they write so many other things. So the answer is here. Underline that sentence. Posture may seem like a small thing, but in this respect, it cements our relationship with the source. That's why posture is very important. Okay, we should stop here. I've just stopped on dot at 7:20. So we should be all celebrating